Charlotte Soccer Show Premier League Banter is back for a third straight week. Danny Brams, Matt Geslin, and special guest Crackers, my cat, over my shoulder there, if you can see up on the mantle. And Matt, how you doing?
Doing well, Danny Brams. We got one more week. We bribed the right guy for another crack at this.
Yeah, and one more week of Premier League games before they take the big World Cup
True.
break, so that was nice. And we got a few things to talk about with our clubs. Things are good in Charlotte. How are things in Portland for you?
Things are good, man. Things are good. Much better than last time when I was a little under the weather. So we're out of that, which is good. And fall is among us. The leaves are changing. The sweaters and jackets are out. So yeah, we're getting into the midst of it here. And like you said, 1 week away from arguably the biggest tournament in the world. I think that's goes without saying.
Arguably.
Without arguably saying the biggest tournament in the world.
Not everything
And
has to be arguably. Yeah, I mean, some things just are. Yeah,
some things are. And so yeah, we had some good games
biggest.
this week leading up to it. And knock on wood, it seems like everyone from our side of things came out healthy from this week. I said, a lot was going to be determined based on how this week went, and guys are healthy. Other than a red card for Tyler Adams, I think everyone kind of came out of this unscathed going into Qatar.
Yeah, and Brendan Aronson looking really nice in his final performance before going to the World Cup. You want to start with that game? Talk about Tottenham and Leeds. Our buddy John, his squad eked out another one. They seem to always do this somehow.
Still doing it. Another great watch as a neutral, even though Spurs are never a great watch as a neutral, but a 4-3 high scoring game again for Leeds. It just seems like every week they cannot stop giving up goals, but also making it entertaining by scoring themselves. So yeah, Brendan Aronson looked great all over the pitch. Honestly, stood out to me as one of the best players. I see 6.7 on the sofa score. I don't think that's really high enough. He was everywhere on the pitch, in the back, moving the ball up the field, getting Leeds forward
early.
Yep. So I mean, he looked good.
Leeds can never hold a lead,
No, never. Yeah, defensively they struggle, but he looked good. And like I said, Tyler Adams with the frustration and getting the red card at the end. But the US players looked pretty strong in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Kane's going to get a goal, but back-to-back, Bettencourt getting 2 goals within 4 minutes there in the final 10 minutes of the match is classic Leeds. Like, everybody sort of knows the way to beat Leeds this year is just like absorb what they throw at you and wait until they kind of run out of steam and then go after them. So I know we have some friends, like I know there's friends of our show, people that I know in Charlotte that I've become friends with through Charlotte FC who like were looking for a Premier League team and they adopted Leeds. And
all the Americans.
It's been rough. Yeah, it's been, I couldn't blame them because it's a really cool team to watch and they're fun, but again, another lead blown by Leeds, and unfortunately, for the best of Brendan's efforts, they couldn't do it. I know that made John Hayes happy as Tottenham remains in the chase. If you look at the standings, they're top 4 going. The next match. So this is the match. The next match will be Boxing Day.
Correct.
So there's no more Premier League games until the day after Christmas. So wherever you are now is where you're going to be on Christmas Day, which is always a key milestone in Premier League. It's a little different this year with the schedule, of course, with the Winter World Cup, but Arsenal number 1 on Christmas Day, on Boxing Day as well, when they resume play, is going to be pretty awesome.
2.5 minutes in, and the first reference of Arsenal at the top at Christmas. I just want to point that out. So I expect that to be a theme throughout the show. But what can I say? You guys are there at the top going into the break, like you said. No team has not won the championship when at the top at Christmas. Also, no team has lost the championship with this amount of points through 14 games. So Arsenal, your guys, Danny Brams, must be on cloud 9. You look great, but of course, like you said, who knows what this break is going to bring? But so far, so good for the Gunners for sure.
Yeah, well, when Manchester City lost early in the day on Saturday, everyone was like, "Oh, it's all right. Arsenal's going to lose." Don't watch out. Arsenal's
typical Arsenal.
Give points up. Yeah, they're vulnerable against Wolves. It's don't count Wolves out for giving Arsenal a game. Well, it wasn't much of a game. And for me, I kind of had a feeling about Odegaard. I was like, this is a game for Odegaard to take over because all these other guys are going to the World Cup. Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, they all have like the World Cup in mind, Ben White. So like Martin Odegaard is like the guy who's not going to the World Cup. So this is his last action for the month. So it's like, hey, let's get involved and let's go nuts. His goals were kind of tapping goals. It's like they were team goals that he just finished off for the most part, but that's what he's there for. He's one of my favorite players on Arsenal. Always great to watch, and he made some things happen. If you look, 8.5 with 2 goals. He wore the captain's armband, and it's nice. It's nice to see him take over.
And it's
we're
great
top
to
of the
see.
league. We're top of the league. Let's go.
There it is.
Merry Christmas. We're top of the league.
And he's a great player, right? Obviously, took him a little while to get going. A huge talent growing up, ended up at Real Madrid as a teenager, didn't work out there. Moves over to Arsenal, still relatively young, but really thriving under Mikel Arteta, like you mentioned, team captain now, I believe, or at least was captain for this game, but kind of taking that leadership there. Yep. I mean, just kind of dominating that whole side of the field, just really kind of controlling, bossing the game. And then, like you said, in the right place for the 2 goals, not necessarily the most difficult, but right place, right time, good finishes, 2 points or 2 goals, 3 points, move on for Arsenal, come back after a nice little break from the World Cup. So business as you should have done at Wolves. And, looking, that's always tough to play there. Wolves are always a tough team. They defend very strongly, always make you kind of come at them and play that counterattack. They had a couple of chances, Danny Brams. I'm sure you were a little nervous there in the first half, but really didn't really take too much in the second half once you figured them out.
I mean, Gabriel Jesus, off the woodwork was one other chance that Arsenal had to score. And I feel like Arsenal dominated. Let's if you look at the up on the sofa score momentum meter, like look how stacked it was. Like Arsenal just owning the entire first half almost, and then almost all the second half, and then when it was already 2-0, they sustained a little bit back a little bit,
for sure.
So I don't know. If back at the standings here, and it's nice. What can you say?
Do you guys feel, obviously you're in it. Let's be honest. I think that conversation's over now.
5 points clear at Christmas.
5 points clear. Can you hang on? Do you think at the end of this season, Danny Brams,
can we?
Arsenal will be lifting the trophy?
Yeah, of course. How can I say no to that? Am I supposed to say no to that? As an Arsenal
everyone
fan,
everyone is just
a student of the league.
Everyone is assuming Man City is going to just steamroll. Arsenal is going to either crumble at some point or have a typical Arsenal bust. Liverpool is coming up, which again we've talked about before, making a nice little run. Is this team, in all seriousness, is this team ready to take that next step and be Premier League champions essentially at this point?
I think so. How can I not? After watching Miguel Arteta, All or Nothing, and just falling in love with his style and what he's got this team doing, and to see the results on the pitch, I'm all in. How can I not believe in this Arsenal squad? To know that we'll be getting Emil Smith-Rowe back laterly at some kind of reinforcement to come in, so I know the team's going to get even better and deeper as things go on. The back line is playing one of the better back lines from Arsenal that I've seen in my time of being a fan, for me. So it's great. It's all hands on deck, all ships pointed forward, and crossing over to championship territory for me. It's championship or bust. That's what I expect as a fan. So I'll be mad, I'll be pissed if we don't get it at this point. Have you ever? You know that feeling. The times when Chelsea's been in the race, right?
Yeah, you have to go for it. Obviously, there's times when you're playing for multiple competitions, right? And I think we've talked about it before, where this roster from your guys' end is definitely more, capable of taking on a couple of tournaments at one time, especially with some depth.
We did crash out of the Carabao Cup, though, but
you have to take. That's fine. We did too. Of course, we can't win anything right now, but
always the cup.
Always the cup.
Not to offend our always the cup mantra on Charlotte Soccer Show, for sure. For the crown,
but you still have Europa. You still have the Europa League, and you still have
Arsenal,
FA Cup.
We got bigger goals.
Yeah, you have a couple of bigger tournaments in front of you. So I think so. There's a couple of teams chasing. Like I said, Liverpool, I still would be careful of. Newcastle, who are for real, making mincemeat of my team this morning. So that was a pretty shocking
one.
Funny
you should say that.
Yeah, and of course they're hanging around, and then Spurs, like you said, Johnny's team just hanging around, just can't get rid of them.
You told me before this you expected Chelsea to get smashed.
I did.
They didn't get smashed. They more like just got slowly strangled to death.
Yes. Yeah. So either way, it was still painful. The team still cannot. This team cannot figure it out. And I think the break couldn't have come at a better time for us and Graham Potter to kind of reassess, look at the team, see who we can play and trust. Who's going to be healthy. Can a player like N'Golo Kante come back and give him some support there in the midfield? He's been out all season. Again, other players, Reece James in the back, Chilwell hopefully maybe back after the World Cup to kind of give that, starting a kid like Hall, who's going to be a great addition in the future, but Lewis Hall cannot be your starting left back or wing back in the Premier League. So, definitely some injuries. Again,
Loftus-Cheek got hurt early.
Loftus-Cheek again got hurt. Yep. I mean, not a great performance by us. Still can't figure out, which style of play, how to move the ball forward. And Newcastle, to all credit to them, they definitely were the better team, even though possession says otherwise.
Give me a rant. I need to hear a rant from you on Cucurella. Like, this guy, you paid a lot for this guy. He's coming in as a sub here in a game that you need to get a win.
Awful, just awful. Why? I mean, $65 million. He's slow. He can't defend. I understand that it wasn't a pick from Graham Potter's perspective. He didn't. Obviously, they worked together at Brighton, but he wasn't Graham's purchase, right? It was before that.
Right.
I don't understand it. I really don't. I mean, you spend Chilwell obviously is hurt. So yes, you want to have some depth behind him. He's ideally your starter. Going to miss almost two full seasons now though. And that's kind of looking pretty dicey there. Again, $65 million for a guy that's really not going to start. I honestly rather play Lewis Hall and have Cucurella as a sub. And that's hard to say, especially like I said, given the money that we spent on him, but not really produced much, and honestly been kind of more of a deterrent and detriment in the back there with his lack of pace, and still just not getting around to kind of how to play out of the back with that central back three. And not too thrilled with Cucurella, but like I said, happy that Lewis Hall got the start over him today.
Yeah, and with that loss, Chelsea 8th, 3 losses in a row going into the break and 2 draws, so they're winless in quite a while.
Yep.
Not good.
No.
They're still behind Brighton. So Potter still has some work to do. I think they're tied on points, right? So
they are, with the loss today from Brighton. Yeah, but still.
Yeah, but Brighton has scored 6 more goals and given them only 2 fewer, so ahead on goal differential.
Yeah, I mean, we said last week 8th is where I think Chelsea belong. They're not playing like a better than that team, and that's where they sit, and that's what they're going to look at.
Let's look at the top 4.
Yeah.
Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, Tottenham. Have all scored at least 29 goals, with Man City scoring 40, Arsenal 33, Newcastle 29, Tottenham for 31. Chelsea has scored 17 goals.
Right.
Right. So you can't win. You can't be at the top of the table without scoring this.
I think what was the stat? Fulham's starters, so Mitrovic, who didn't even play today, has more goals than the entire front 3 of Chelsea's forwards, I think.
Yeah,
like something ridiculous.
Mitrovic, like the debt collector,
Yeah,
he's gonna
I'll take it right now. Yeah. I'll take the debt collector.
If you ever owe anybody money and then Mitrovic comes to collect, then you're paying it right away.
You're paying it as soon as you can. Yeah, exactly. So, no, it's rough selling for us, but again, your Newcastle boys looked really good. Miguel Almiron, Miggy, again leading to the goal. Great move inside. I know. We were talking about Christian Pulisic, and maybe that's how he's going to play eventually one day, or we all want him to. But that move by Miggy, just cutting in and then letting Joe Wilcock put it right into the top corner. A little bit lucky, I would say, but that's just when you're playing that well, things are going to happen like that.
Making things happen on the wing, as you can see, just really bright red heat map. Joe Ellington
all over the place. Joe Ellington
kind of doing the same thing on the other side. So making havoc on the wings. Where you miss Reece James, you miss even Marco Alonso, who's gone. So even if Loftus-Cheek hadn't got hurt, I don't know. Alonso was always good for something. I as a Chelsea hater, I feared Alonso a little bit. Not feared, but just like I didn't.
Yeah, going forward, he was much more of an attacking presence than Hall or so far Cucurella, but he was worse of a defender than Cucurella is. If that's saying anything. So, but
that is true.
It's not great. But again, there's a break and we'll see what happens. But, top 4 is going to be tough for Chelsea now, like just looking at the standings right now. United won again today. Liverpool looked good yesterday. We already touched on the top 4. Those all 4 teams there look like they're going to be around for,
tough.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
I'd say it's over.
I would agree.
Hot
it's
takes.
A long way to go.
If you came here for real takes, you got to say it's over for Chelsea's top 4 dream. At this point, they're chasing Europa/conference at best, if they can get it together. And really, I think the number 1 goal has to just be first pull ahead of Brighton, and then see where you can go from there. Right?
It's as sad as that sounds, right? But I do think Brighton will. Obviously, they lost today against Aston Villa. Unai Emery 2 wins in a row already now coming into the gate. Look out for Villa with the talent that they have. They're going to knock some people off after the break to kind of take some points from the top. But yeah, Brighton might kind of be the start of the slip. Obviously, I say that after they drummed us, but Brighton not really expected to stay up there all year. Of course, there's surprises like Newcastle being in there as high as they are still, but Brighton kind of in the behind us, probably almost where Fulham is, Brentford area. That would be kind of where I would see them finishing the season. So in that 8 to 11 range, I think. So
shout out to the Bees.
Yes,
shout out
absolutely.
to the Bees from all of us, right? We all cheer against Man City. I think at this point, if you're not a Man City fan, like no hatred towards people who are, but it's just we're tired of seeing Pep win and beat everybody with the best players. It's kind of, to me, I equate it to if you're not a Chicago Bulls fan in the 90s, when it was, Phil Jackson had all the best. Like, yes, I'm not saying it's easy to coach the best players. I do agree with the philosophy that, like, if you have the best players, you still have to coach really hard to make sure those guys all click together or whatnot. But I do think you go, when you are not a fan of that, you grow a little bit resentful as an anti-fan. So, no, nothing against Man City fans individually, but we're tired of seeing them win. So let's go Arsenal. Let's slay the dragon on this one for sure.
And the best part about Brentford, right, is that at 4:30 in the morning, when I'm not waking up at that game, and I wake up at 6:30 and there's just B emojis in my inbox, you know what that means. It's just one of those, it's very clear, that the Bees just took care of business, so it's one of those very easy to remember.
Considering the kind of like wake up messages you could wake up to at 4:30 in the morning in terms of nuclear war or
the bee is it's a nice little emoji. It
flood in your town or things like that. Well, hey, it's the Bees are doing well. Brentford won a match. Yeah, exactly.
And hey, you had that table up there real quick. I mean, I know we were talking about them and everyone's affinity for Leeds, but
wow,
are you gonna, at the bottom there? Are you
going to take Leeds down here real quick?
I don't want to. I just 15th though is not a place to be. 1 point clear from that relegation range. Everton are bad, let's be honest, but Nottingham is going to be. Can either of those 3 teams at the bottom really make a push? I don't know. But
if Forest can tighten up the leaking at the back, they could be okay.
Yeah, but I mean, Jesse Marsh has still got to be careful down there, even though people have been happy about it.
Playing with fire, they've been flirting with relegation for a few years, a couple times, and 3 losses now. New coach.
New manager,
still lost. Still lost with the new gaffer coming in. Wolves, I'm shocked. I didn't realize Wolves were dead last. That's crazy. 10 points. And people were saying Wolves could give Arsenal a game. Are you like? What
you never know though, because Wolves
was
are
that
tricky.
Just wishful thinking on people that hate my club, or is that what it was that people?
No, it's more happen? Wolves. I would say more Wolves and how they play. They always are tough. They always play, like I said, behind the ball. They're not obviously the position on the table is what it is. And Lopetegui, who's coming in,
I think it's a conspiracy against me.
He was in the stands yesterday watching them. But they play well. I mean, they give everyone a game. I think, like I said, though, you guys clearly dominated once you got that first one. It was over. But I think they can give. Hey, the beautiful thing about the Premier League is everyone can beat anybody. Unlike some of these other leagues that we've talked about in the past, Premier League is top to bottom, a tough league. Of course, over the course of a 38 game season, a team like Wolves is not going to really compete, but they can on any given Saturday or any given Sunday, depending on, where we're at. So, but yeah, it was a good weekend going into the World Cup. Like I said, excited, Danny Brams. How are you feeling 1 week out from kick?
I'm feeling great. And I want to hear one more rant from you before we close out of here on the negativity that surrounds this U.S. men's national team roster. I think it's okay to question a few choices and to say, hey, I would have done this instead of that, but let's go. But this became almost an exercise. This was like the most poisonous aspect of social media that could have ever brought itself to bear on U.S. men's national team reaction all over different channels and platforms and things like that. And it's like, people were getting abused from players to officials and whatnot. And it's like, man, can we find a little bit better way to express ourselves and just at least bring some balance to things and have a little more self-awareness? I don't know, but I'm all in for this USA team, whoever they are. Like, we have to, at this point, we're so close to the games. Let's actually let's go all in and see what happens.
100%. Right. And to take the words of one of our favorite personalities, Lexi Lawless on Twitter, hello sunshine, what are we all yelling at today? That's kind of what it is. And I think, to your point, we're now here, right? The roster has been announced. It is what it is. We've talked about it. We did the recap last week of the roster being announced, but now it's time, right?
I thought we tried to have measured criticism and not
100%. But it's time to get behind these guys. We're a week out. We have to be all in for them. Obviously, there's going to be time for criticizing, and there's going to be time for reflecting of how the team was put together. But now is when the team needs us to be there, and that is and that they are on the plane going to Qatar. They will be there if they're not there now. I believe that we will win. And so it is time.
Is that back? I believe that we will win back. I don't know.
I do too. I mean, there is realistic. You have to be realistic, right? This team is not going to bring back the World Cup trophy this tournament. I mean, if we do, of course, hallelujah. But it's not going to happen.
The expectation.
Yeah, you have to be realistic, and so we have to look at the roster.
I expect to get out of grouping, see where
I do too. I mean, of course, it's going to be a challenge, and so, but I think the team is ready it's time to put up, and it's time to shut up, and it's time to do it on the field. And it's time to see what they can do. And after that, then we can all jump on their backs and say, oh, what a great job they did, or what a terrible job they did, or this needs to improve, or what was Sean Johnson doing passing that ball to so-and-so. There's going to be time for that. And we did it before, and we will do it after, but there's a little window where we're in right now that it's all in, and it's time to focus on that and give them the support that they need to do as much success as they can in Qatar, because God knows they need as much help as they can get. They're not going to just win it on talent alone, for sure.
What a line. Well, let's end on a Charlotte FC note, just to keep it on brand. How many goals does Karol Swiderski score in the group stage here? Or goal or assist? Say, Karol Swiderski
total points,
goal contributions. Yeah, in the group stage. Do you need the Poland schedule in front of you, or?
I don't. And it really just depends on how many minutes he gets. So, because obviously we all know who the starter is for them. If they play two up top and he gets that second role, if he comes in and kind of supports, and subs in for Lewandowski, that's the real deciding factor.
I'm thinking they can play together, and I think so the way he played for Charlotte FC at the end of the season has got me even more confident that he has a pathway to playing with Lewandowski. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see now that full teams are actually reporting to camps and things like that. He's been officially called up, so it's going to be great. That is, as much as I'm looking forward to watching the U.S. Every match, I will be watching everything on Poland, even to see cutaways on the sideline. I want to see how Karol sings the anthem and stuff like that. So I can't wait for that.
Okay, well, I'll do it this way for you. That if he's playing together, he'll have 5 points in the group stage, 3 assists, 2 goals.
5. Wow.
If he's playing as a sub
versus Argentina, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia.
Correct. If he's playing as a sub, he'll have 2 points.
Okay.
And it'll be 1 and 1, or maybe 2 assists, no goals. But it really just depends on the style.
Those are 2 confident predictions. I love it.
I'll say
I'm going to agree. I like those numbers, and why would I disagree? So, Thank you for joining us, everybody. We love the chance to talk about more soccer beyond just while Charlotte FC is in the off season. Obviously, the podcast is still going as well, but stay in touch, keep in touch, drop comments, drop likes, have fun, and let's get together, drop messages. If you want to get in my World Cup player pool that starts next week, drop me a message on Twitter or a direct message or whatever, or to the show account. And Geslin, you're in, so you can't wait. I'm putting all the rosters in. There's gonna be an update on that going out with all the official rosters and everything as they become more official. I think tomorrow's the official deadline. So
do you and Johnny have a bar for the World Cup that you're going to be attending, or are you guys going to be doing the same thing as the show and rotating them?
There's a Charlotte FC watch party. I encourage everyone to go to that. I have to work that day. I think John actually has a chance to go. So there's a big club watch party. I'm glad you brought that up. If you're not going to the Charlotte FC watch party for the very first day on Monday the 21st, what are you doing? Get there. I say that as someone who's not going, but do as I say, not as I do on that one, and you'll have a lot of fun for sure.
Well, Danny Brams, I'll definitely be talking with you. Always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you before we start, I believe that we will win.